the Royals are going for their 50th win of the season against the Guardians on Tuesday night, which 5 of those would be against the Guardians. So if you want to know where things went wrong this year, you can start by losing 10% or being 10% of the Royals' victories in one season. That's where you want to be.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. I want to thank Everydayer Jones for your kind words in the comments today. And for those who know me, I am Jeff Ellis, the OG host of Locked On Guardians. Before that, I wrote at Scout 24/7 and many a place, specifically about MLB draft.
Yeah, we have some new people who might be joining us on the podcast for the first time or listening on fast channels. You can start watching us on Roku TV, Apple, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV, all those places. Just download the the News On app. I'm Justin Latta. I'm coming up on a year here with you, Jeff. We're getting pretty close to a year. It was right after the Guardians clinched a year ago. Things have certainly changed since then, but I've been covering Guardians or Cleveland prospects for better part of a decade now for various outlets: Scout 24/7, the News Herald, Prospects Live. So a lot of good places there covering prospects and the Guardians over Cleveland over the last 10 seasons.
Yeah, I've written for almost half of those. I feel like that's we had fun crossing our streams. To use a Ghostbusters reference. Over the years before we got to work together. Certainly more fun than watching portions of tonight's game. For those who are watching at home, we just ended the 7th inning. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get an exciting one here at the end. There's been some things to stand out, some things to talk about. We had some discussion before the game started. And a nice game by Andres Jimenez. Maybe that's a positive step forward. We can talk about the Bo Naylor of it all. There's some positive steps and there's some not so positive steps. It is interesting. Am I wrong in feeling like we've seen a little bit pull back on Straw, that he is not out there quite every day right now with more Laureano and Brennan and other guys? Now if we could just I know Calhoun has 2 hits tonight, so people will hate on me for this, but more David Fry, less Cole Calhoun, then sign me up to go along with less Straw and more everyone else.
David Fry is not playing because he's working on his transition to pitching full time. Obviously, that's why he can't play.
Makes sense. That's what I missed.
Yeah. No, you're right. Laureano has been in center a lot more lately, and not just against lefties. I mean, he should be in there every day against lefties, and it makes sense because what are you going to learn about Miles Straw over these last couple of weeks that you're not going to, you already don't know? Either you go into next year and you make him a 4th outfielder like you probably should be at this point,
Yep.
Or you really want to make sure that you're giving Laureano a good look to see if it makes sense to keep him next year. And so far, I'd say it does because he still hits lefties very well. And doesn't matter where you put him in the outfield, he plays good defense. And the fact that even Laureano has a positive platoon split against one side of the, makes him more valuable. I don't know that he defensively grades out any better than Miles Straw. Probably not. I mean, Miles Straw is still a very good defender, but it's not like there's a big drop off. And if you can get one guy to at least hit one side of the platoon halfway decently, then that's already an improvement.
Agreed. And that's the big thing is, as much as, I don't want to be accused of being negative, Straw's been just awful. It's Austin Hedges out there. As much as I would, love for him to be the guy he was in that first season, I think we see that was a lot of luck. That's not his profile. And again, I'm fine with him being here, just like I'm fine with Cole Calhoun being here, but those are guys I want to see kind of bench
roles. Yeah.
Let's make that the bench crew.
No, Calhoun is this team's cleanup hitter. Again,
he's having a good game tonight, but he's still below league average, I believe, for the year.
Yeah. At the end of the year, you're going to look back on the Cole Calhoun thing, and you're not going to measure his impact in terms of what he did on the field. I think you're really hoping at this point that, and Bo Naylor just hit a home run to tie the game up. No, down by one.
No, it was a one run.
That's 9 home runs this year for Bo Naylor. He's got 2 walks tonight as well. And if he hits one more home run, he will tie the Guardians' best or most home runs by a catcher in the last 4 years. The Guardians have not had a catcher hit more than 10 home runs since 2019 with Roberto Perez. So I think Austin had just hit 10 in 2021. So if Bo Naylor hits one more, he can at least tie that. That gives Naylor 24 home runs on the year. He had 13 in AAA.
I think one of the most encouraging things is not just the hot streak. That's been fantastic to see him really turn the corner, but his walk rate. We know historically walk rates don't always translate, and that they often can Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's what's so positive for me. We see a lot of guys with high walk rates who get to the big leagues and then they don't walk, or even most guys get up there and their walk rates fall apart. You can look at Will Brennan, right? You can look at half this team right now. But his have really translated, and that's kind of just shows how good his eye is. And it also, I don't think we'll have the time today. At some point, we're going to go through all of the rookies and like the top 20 rookies, right? And how many of them are current Guardians or former Guardians for this year in baseball. And the one thing I'll say before anyone gets really mad, because that's our tendency to be like, oh, they gave up too early, is also remember how much the sophomore swoon is a real thing. How many guys come back to earth and you're like, what does it have to do with Naylor? That walk rate, that eye at the plate with his power and his athleticism, I don't want to say it makes him swoon, immortal. I can't think of the word I want. He's going to be, but it gives him a better chance of avoiding it. I have more faith in a guy with the strong eye at the plate, a good approach, and the ability to get into more of his power, having less of a swoon than some of the guys who are just based on contact and speed.
Yeah, there are certain skill sets that translate better. Like, we used to think that walk rates were the one thing that you could count on from the minors to majors. That used to be the prevailing thinking. And now anymore, there is such a gap between the majors and the minors, especially in the AAA, that you can't always count on that, whether it's strikeouts or walks. And his strikeout rate is still in a very good, in a very good range. So there are certain things that do give you a base set of skills that are going to help you survive a little better, like speed or defense and being able to take a walk. I mean, if he's struggling, we've seen it before with young guys who, if they're not getting hits, if they're struggling, they might have a tendency to chase a little more because they're trying to hit their way out of a slump, or, like Jose Ramirez, a guy who's established. Sometimes he gets pitched differently and doesn't get the pitches he wants to see at the plate. And sometimes he gets a little frustrated and, swings the pitches he shouldn't. And that certainly could be the case for Bo Naylor next year. That could hurt his walk rate, but you're right. That gives him a little bit of a stable baseline that he knows that if something's not going well for him at the plate, be selective up there, hit the pitches you can drive. And that's what has been the big change for him. He changed his swing a little bit from the disaster that was 2021 to now. But what changed for him from 2021 to now is the approach at the plate. He has just cut down on how much he swings in general. He has taken his strike zone or taken the zone that he knows how to handle, and he understands that he shouldn't be swinging at every pitch. That there might be times where Bo Naylor takes a called strike 3 that's frustrating. Remember Carlos Santana? How many times people get upset with Carlos Santana that he would take a lot of called strike 3s? Yeah, Carlos Santana will still go down to me as one of the most underrated players in Cleveland baseball history.
He was the Rodney Dangerfield of my life.
That's a fantastic comparison, absolutely. But how many times did Santana go from 0-2 in a count to 3-2? Bo Naylor has that ability, and it might come along with taking a called strike 3 sometimes, but because he doesn't swing at balls he knows he can't really impact, or he gets himself into counts where he can pick on those pitches, he has a better chance for success. So I agree. Those things are all good stable baselines for him for stability for next year. But the sophomore jinx is a real thing, just not because it's a superstitious thing or even a slightly stitious thing. It's because pitchers get tape on you and they learn you. That's how it goes. And
I know there's something like they can get tape on you at every. There's a difference on when you get tape on someone facing big league talent. It's the that transition is still the biggest. I had someone in our comments talking about, could Chase DeLauder start next year in AAA? And I was like, the single to AA is the second hardest transition behind that big leagues to the majors. And I understand why DeLauder looked great this year. And you want him close as possible. So hopefully we can get here sooner. But I would
happens when he plays in the AFL too.
Yeah,
I mean,
the AFL,
not that anybody sends good pitchers there.
No, everyone, if he doesn't play well, hey, Jose, making this interesting, runners on the corners. But,
we should transition to some different topics here.
But
lottery odds,
just
why the Guardians moved on from Matt Moore.
That is a really hard situation. That is a hard transition. Major League tape matters a lot.
We'll explain more of that later today. Well, I don't doubt Bo Naylor is going to play on Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, I should say. But Jose Ramirez will probably be in the lineup at DH. Tyler Freeman will be in there somewhere. And if you're feeling froggy, you can bet on them for more home runs, hits, strikeouts. Thursday is going to be Lucas Giolito. Wednesday is going to be Lucas Giolito for the Guardians. He pitched very well last time out. That the clock is ticking for your chance to win 100 times your cash on Daily Fantasy Baseball. Never been more exciting now than Sudswick, Acuna, Betts, not Ohtani. But go ahead. I would pick more strikeouts for Lucas Giolito on Wednesday based on how he pitched against.
Can you pick Ohtani and do less? Is that legal?
I'm going to go ahead and guess that is probably illegal. But it's not illegal is if you use promo code LOCKEDON, you're going to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And make sure you're betting. I'm going to say bet the over on strikeouts on Lucas Giolito. Speaking of that game with the Royals on Wednesday afternoon at 2:10 Eastern, you can listen to that matchup on your SiriusXM app while you work. Just search Guardians on the app. Well, so much for, fighting for lottery odds right now. I guess if the Guardians do come back and win this thing, they're just going to, at this point, like you said yesterday, I hate to say rooting for them to lose, but today was a good day, right? Andres Gimenez showed some good stuff today. Bo Naylor showed some good stuff. Logan Allen, not so much, but you had enough good things go your way today that you're like, okay, just focus on the individual positives and not the overall positive, like losing and improving that draft stock.
Might he be the next one to go on the kind of shelf, I wonder? Because isn't that 2 starts in a row with kind of. But at the end of the day, my overused expression to replace right there. He has been so good this year. I don't care if he doesn't end strong. Everyone's over their innings peak. They're all young arms. Don't overjudge this. I think no matter what happens, this has been an innately hugely successful year for those pitchers. In terms of those lottery odds, talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's hard to see them getting higher than a 5.5% chance of winning it all, because sitting there at 6th is the Los Angeles Angels, losers of 6 straight, but they are still close. Like Detroit lost tonight, but they were a game up on Detroit heading into today. Pittsburgh and the Mets are not far beyond that. There's a chance, and this is a good draft right now on paper. You listen to me at the top of the show, my introduction. I love the draft. Picking top 10. The one reason I kind of don't want to pick top 10, if I can say, is the whole time Tito was here. They had a top 10 pick from before he arrived, and then his whole run. This is probably the 4th best run in the franchise's history is Tito as manager. And yes, I'm not always his biggest fan, but I can also respect game and greatness. They've never had a lotto pick. It would kind of stink on some level that his final year is the lotto pick year. So that's the part of me that kind of doesn't want to happen, but at the same time, the part of me that is more just a baseball fan does not mind it. But I still can't quite turn it off. Like seeing them try to rally here, I'm excited to watch, even though I know in my heart of hearts, it's better if Kansas City pulls this out. It's better if this team gets a higher draft position, and not necessarily even for draft position, but for pool value and money. And it's kind of the weird thing of baseball, and why it'd be interesting if they ever did fully implement something like a wheel or something like that. It did some way to incentivize more for a team like the Guardians that had managed to keep themselves out of the top 10 for a decade. It feels like they should be rewarded for that somehow, that their lottery percentage should be higher. I'm just going to throw that out there for not a decade as a small market team and not once in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, they've continued to thread the needle the last decade. I mean, 2021 was brutal. They had a higher pick because of it in 2022, but it was what, 12? It was 12th or 14th?
14th. First time they ever picked 14th.
Yeah, so it's still, even though they had a brutal 2021, they were still middle of the pack. They were 14, like out of 30. So that's still.
Actually, they were 16. I was wrong. I was like, wait a second. They picked 14 before. Yeah. It's the first time they ever had the 16th overall pick in the draft.
It was 16. In 2022, that was their pick? 16? Yep.
And that was Chase DeLauder.
Okay, so they were still, even though they had a poor 2021, they were still below the midway point.
The worst pick, the highest draft position the entire time Tito was here was 2016. Now it's Will Benson at 14. So
and that year they went 81 and 80, I think, because they didn't play the last game of the season against Detroit because it didn't matter. So
I was just gonna say they picked in the top half of the first round exactly once in his run.
And they probably, I don't know. Finishing 500 this year is going to be out of the question because they already had 79 losses, so it could be 80 after this one's over. So it may not matter, but yeah, they could end up finishing in the top half. What's the new rule on the lottery? Because obviously Washington can't pick top 10 this year because of that. Can Cleveland also, like, hopefully this next year doesn't go as badly, but can Cleveland not pick in the top 10, or are they a small enough market where they can continue?
It's basically if you're paying the tax, or if you paid.
Well, that'll never be the case.
And it's also like, do you get a competitive? I'm sorry, that's wrong. Do you get a competitive balance pick? Okay, then you're not big market. So anyone who gets those bonus picks doesn't qualify. But this isn't on our thing. But what's really fascinating is, I don't want it to be a 2-year rebuild, but if it is, next year gets really interesting in the draft because a bunch of teams can't pick high anymore because that'll be multiple years in a row. So there's going to be a situation. Next year is going to be the first year of it happening because these first 2 years are building up where, Kansas City, I believe, next year will be 3 top 10 picks in a row. I don't think they can after that. Like, you can't, small market, for big market, it's 2 years. For the rest, everyone else, it's 3 years. So next year, it's going to be a whole mess of people getting moved down. And I don't know how that's going to happen, who all will move up, but the 2025 draft is going to be chaos. It's going to be fun.
Well, I would prefer the Guardians, and they won't try to rebuild. It's especially in 1 year. It's always everything's done on the fly. And we didn't even get to.
And we got Cal
how weird the season
going deep twice.
Tonight we'll get to that.
Don't need to rebuild.
Not at all. No. The one thing we didn't get to yet was how weird this season has been. They now have waived Matt Moore. They didn't see the news. The Guardians waived him, and the Miami Marlins picked him up. He cannot play for the Marlins in the playoffs. They're only a half game out. I had to look it up because I was like, so he's not eligible for the playoffs. I'm like, well, the Marlins aren't making any, and they may not. They're a half game out though.
I saw Arizona writer so annoyed about this, like just going off.
Really?
Yes. How is this? Because how is this allowed? How is this? It's a joke, and it's like, no, this happens hey, my dude, this happens in every sport. And I do want to throw this out there. Matt Moore was the 4th highest paid pitcher for this team this year after Syndergaard, Bieber, and Giolito. This will save them about $500,000 the rest of the year. Why did they choose him over, say, 99 over, say, Michael Kelly? Well, $500,000 plus club control. I think it's both parts. I think club control matters because Moore was only for this year, but I also think $500,000 helps.
It definitely does. I mean, especially for being 2 weeks of the season left, they still owed him that much money. And yeah, they weren't going to retain him for next year. Like brought up Michael Kelly, and we even suggested Michael Kelly can be one of the guys in the chopping block. He's back up with Cleveland, at least in the short term until Shane Bieber comes back. And
so 99.
So is 99. Yeah, I think they kind of like. I was looking at. I don't really know what goes into what's called Stuff Plus on FanGraphs. It's one of those things not made up, but it's data put together by Saris, who used to be at FanGraphs, now at The Athletic, and I know Driveline has their own version of Stuff Plus too. Yeah. It's a formula to just determine how good a guy's pitch is. It's based on spin rate, velocity, all this kind of different stuff. Michael Kelly his slider has a stuff plus of 145. So like WRC plus, anything above 100 is good. Anything below 100 is bad. His stuff plus overall is 126, but for the slider, it's 145. So he's got a very interesting pitch. I guess that's why they stick with him. I know people are going to say, I'm tired of these made up stats. Well, you might not like them, but teams use them, and it's a good way to. That's the thing that people don't understand about analytics. It's not about the numbers themselves. It's about what they tell you and how they can help you make a more informed decision. It's not, you can't look at the numbers specifically and decide whether or not you think it's valuable. It's the decisions that are made based off them. If they can help you make a better decision, being better informed is always a good thing, no matter what you're doing. So yeah, but Matt Moore moves on because the Guardians didn't have club control over him next year, and they don't sign major league free agents in the bullpen. The last two that we've talked about, the last two they've signed are Brian Shaw, who was coming off of the year they signed the minor league deal, and then Boone Logan, who was a disaster. So no, this team does not sign major league free agent relievers. Yeah. They're not going to start next year, and it's not a good place to do it because you're asking for disaster. I think people are asking for us to move on and talk about Triston McKenzie coming back and some minor league notes from Tuesday night.
Jase case. I'm waiting to get mine currently. I did go through your Jase case. When you go through and you fill out your survey, they ask you about medications, things like that. So you know that the medicine you're getting is going to be safe and ready for you. It's a good price on just a basic level. Talking to people in the medical field, the number of life-saving antibiotics you're getting in this for the cost is fantastic. And again, for me, what I'm excited about getting my Jase case for is my sinus infections. I'm looking forward to being able to take care of those infections without having to wait to see a doctor. It is always hard to get online to see a doctor. So if you are interested in trying out a Jase case for yourself, save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com.
One more time this season between the Guardians and Royals on Wednesday afternoon, 2:10. That is Lucas Giolito. And boy, the Royals are probably throwing out someone really interesting. They're throwing out Zach Greinke. Could be the last time the Guardians face Zach Greinke. Not going to want to miss that. If you tune into your Sirius XM app, you can listen to all the action. Just search Guardians.
Can we say how much that eighth inning was just, chef's kiss of this season, where they get your hopes up, big home run, a walk, single. You got a runner on third with nobody out. You just need a fly ball. Strike out on a wild pitch.
To be fair, Josh Naylor has come through so many times this year.
I know, but
you can't count on him to be the guy every time.
I know, but strike out on a wild pitch is not a great look. Cole Calhoun strike out, and then Ramon Laureano ends up on his knees on his strikeout.
That's expected too.
Yeah,
he's got issues against right-handers, and there are some swing and miss. It's really funny they decided to take the chance on Laureano because they have run like the plague from everybody else who strikes out above 20% of the time, unless it's Bo Naylor or Mike Zunino. But they decided to take a chance on Ramon Laureano, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Hopefully, it's a sign of them softening that stance.
And then they go and bring in Nick Sandlin, who has been, a dumpster fire over the last month and promptly gives up a single to the first.
He was the most underrated reliever, I think, of going into June.
May and June, yeah.
And then, he didn't allow a single run in the month of May. And, it just kind of fell apart. But you and I were talking off air about how to change this bullpen. Not change the bullpen for next year because there's still enough talent in this bullpen, but how to, augment it. And you said it best. They don't move on from guys. Nick Sandlin still has three options because he's just every time that they've had to send him somewhere else, it's because of injuries. Not they haven't optioned him down, so they're going to stick with those guys. I don't know about Morgan next year, but
they'll all be back.
It's crazy.
They're all going to be back.
I want to have a good long.
We got
about how to augment the bullpen, but
we got 2 off days next week. We can just do it then.
We can do it then. You're right. So Shane Bieber will come back on Friday. He'll start Friday. Thursday is looking like a bullpen game, possibly the way things are shaping up. That was supposed to be Tanner Bybee. I'm going to lament this, but Thursday was supposed to be Tanner Bobby versus Grayson Rodriguez. Would have been so much fun. We'll talk about that more tomorrow because I want to talk about him versus Gunnar Henderson. But Friday will be Shane Bieber. He'll make his first start back, so he'll have a chance to make 2 starts before the end of the season, which is, good for him and good for the team for the most part. So assuming Michael Kelly goes down for Shane Bieber on Friday, and then McKenzie will come back on Sunday, he'll come back on Tuesday because he just pitched tonight, Tuesday night. So no, he could come back on Sunday if that's the way they line up. Gavin goes on Saturday and Cal Sunday. So Triston on Tuesday. That's almost got to be 99, right? If it's not, he'll go back to AAA. I don't know who the 40-man roster move is going to be. It could be 99 for McKenzie.
99 or Kelly really feel like the most likely candidates.
Yeah, because Matt Moore opened up the 40-man spot for Bieber, so they don't got to make a 40-man move on Friday now for Bieber, but they have to make a 40-man move for McKenzie when he comes back on either, I guess, Sunday or Tuesday, depending on how they want to play this. But 99 or Kelly seems like the 40-man move, and then if it's 99, that opens up a spot on the 28-man roster. If not, I don't know. I kept saying they have to move a pitcher because they have too many pitchers. I was going to say you could do it with Cam Gallagher, but let's face it, Cam Gallagher is never going to leave our lives. He is going to haunt us forever. He is never going to go away.
Is going to retire, and they're going to start a Netflix show that is Tito, Brian Shaw, and Cam Gallagher, and we're all going to watch. I'm pitching it next
week.
Should
be there. He loved Mike Aviles.
Yeah, maybe Mike Aviles, Mike Freeman. He liked guys named Mike. We can go through. But yeah, no, Michael Martinez.
I was going to say, how could you forget Michael Martinez? It's the Tito and his mics.
That was the guy who made me go that, Michael Martinez is the Highlander. You can't kill this guy because he just kept bringing him back.
I know. 2 years in a row. He came back the next year very briefly.
Hitting in the World Series. It's always going to.
By the way, I try not to think about that too often. McKenzie, by the way, went 3 1/3 on Tuesday night in Columbus. 91-94, got some swings and misses with his fastball. He did give 2 home runs. I thought it was interesting. I'm curious to see if StatCast picked this up wrong, but he threw it. According to Baseball Savant, he threw 9 cutters. He has not thrown a cutter before. So maybe while he was on his, on the IL, he was working on a cutter. So we'll see if that was just a misrepresentation by StatCast or if Triston McKenzie has added a cutter. I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Kyle Manzardo, 2 for 4 with 2 home runs on Tuesday night. Every ball he hit was, I think, 99 or 97 above. At this point, he's having a good time in AAA, and I know some might be tempted to say that the home runs he was hitting were aided by Huntington Ballpark. The ball he hit to left field was 300. He hit a home run to left field was 325 feet. It's 325 feet to left field in Cleveland. He hit it 387 to right field. That's not a Huntington Ballpark home run. That's a home run in Cleveland. So I don't know. Your 2024 Rookie of the Year. They can try it again, right?
They can. I'll be curious to see how it all plays out. But I'm hoping he's here to start the year. I liked that trade because I believed in the player they were getting, and right now I'm hoping that we see this continue to grow and that he hits that kind of ceiling, which is the guy they traded to Tampa, Yandy Diaz. Like that's, I think,
a middle of the order hitter.
Yeah. Like I said, high end Yandy, low end Ben Broussard. If you want Cleveland Guardians former first baseman. Broussard's numbers, by the way, much better than you think. If you go look them up, I was shocked.
They were good against Platoon. The question I would have though is, can Kyle Manzardo play the guitar?
I mean, can't we all to varying degrees? I mean, maybe not as good as Broussard, but I think we can all.
Broussard put out an album, man.
I know. He
Davis Field.
He actually. I know he went on to become a musician, but it is not.
I don't think he plays guitar as good as the Jonas Brothers. Just saying.
Do you want to take the last 30 seconds and talk about your Jonas Brothers experience?
It was definitely an experience, a 3-hour experience.
Oh, it sounds like a great.
I'm just going to throw it out there too on an app. It was an app out there where we bought the tickets through, not an app we use on this show. And it said there were a lot of tickets available before the show. We got there. It was like 15,000 strong and 14,000 women. So there was not a seat to be had last night. Let me tell you.
Hey, the opposite of Progressive Field, but there's always seats to be had on our show. We want to thank you
see
all
you
for
tomorrow.
joining us, rating and reviewing, downloading. It helps. We know baseball is hard right now, but we appreciate each of you coming on and joining us. And go Guardians, go.